Good day, everyone. I'm Buan Lourdes. Today, together with my groupmates Lancelot Antonio, Naiomi BALATBAT, and Joanna Lou will present case study number 1, which is all about designing the production network at Coolwipes. Coolwipes is a company that produces baby wipes and diaper ointment founded in the late 1980s. Matt O'Grady is known to be the vice president of supply chain at Coolwipes. The company currently has one factory in Chicago that produces both products for the whole of America. Since the company was established, demand and customers' geographical location increased. Transportation then increased by a factor of more than 4 and is expected to grow in the following years, while transportation costs are also expected to increase. Princeton, New Jersey, Atlanta, and Los Angeles are the three options as a potential facility site at Coolwipes, each of which can produce a wipe line, an ointment line, or can produce both products. For this slide, the table shows the facility capabilities of the company. From the current location in Chicago, the wipes line has a capacity of 5 million units, a fixed cost of $5 million per year, and a variable cost of $10 per unit produced, while the ointment line in the same location has a capacity of 1 million units, a fixed cost of $1.5 million per year, and a variable cost of $20 per unit produced. With the new plant as location, the wipes line will have a capacity of 2 million units, a fixed cost of $2.2 million a year, and a variable cost of $10 per unit produced. Lastly, the ointment line in the new plant will have a capacity of 1 million units, a fixed cost of $1.5 million a year, and a variable cost of $20 per unit produced.
Coolwipes produced baby wipes and diaper ointment. Regional demand for the wipes and ointment category are given. The demand for the two products is shown at the first table. The company currently had one plant in Chicago that produced for the entire country. The current transportation cost per unit for both wipes and ointments are shown on the second table. There are two assumptions given. First, building a new plant incurs no cost. Second, when adding a new plant for any production line, we can only add one in each new network options.
The first question in the case study is, what is the annual cost of serving the entire nation from Chicago? To get the total annual cost, use the equation total cost is equals to fixed cost plus variable cost plus transportation cost, where fixed cost is equals to the annual fixed cost, variable cost is equals to the variable cost per unit times total units of demand, and the transportation cost is equals to the transportation cost per unit times units transported to each region. For the wipes line, there is an annual fixed cost of $5 million and a variable cost per unit of $10. Here are the demands for the wipes for each region, and here's the transportation cost per unit from Chicago to each region. The transportation cost per region can be computed using this formula, which is regional demand times transportation cost per unit. For example, the regional transportation cost in Northwest is $3,160,000, and it is computed by multiplying the 500,000 units of demand to the transportation cost per unit of $6.32. For the total cost, the annual fixed cost again is $5 million, and the variable cost was computed using this formula, which is the variable cost per unit times the total demand, which is 4,500,000 units. The transportation cost is the sum of all the regional transportation costs. And here's the whole table for the wipes line. Here's the regional demand and transportation costs from Chicago, the fixed cost and variable cost, and the total cost for the line. Adding all the total cost for the wipes line is $73,464,000. The same was done for the ointment line. In here, the annual fixed cost is $1,500,000 and the variable cost per unit is $20. Here's the demand for the ointment from each region, and here's the transportation cost per unit from Chicago to each region. The transportation cost per region was again computed using this formula, regional demand times transportation cost per unit, and for the total cost, The annual fixed cost as stated in the problem is $1,500,000. The variable cost was obtained by multiplying the $20 variable cost per unit to the total demand, which is 515,000 units, and the transportation cost is the sum of all the transportation costs per region. To summarize all the data for the ointment line, here's the regional demand and transportation costs from Chicago, the fixed cost and variable cost, and the total cost for the line. Adding all the total cost for the ointment line is $14,497,400. For the total cost breakdown, the total cost for the wipes line is $73,464,000. For the ointment line, it is $14,497,400. Adding these two and to answer the question, the annual cost of serving the entire nation from Chicago is $87,961,400.
Question 2. Do you recommend adding any plants? If so, where should the plants be built and what lines should be included? Assume that the Chicago plant will be maintained at its current capacity but could not run at lower utilization. Here are the inputs for wipe and ointment line. The total cost per demand region is computed by adding the transportation cost of the demand region plus the variable cost of the supply region. Note, the following slides is the same method used for the ointment line. Here is the decision variable table, to be later used for solver. The column for plant is used for the decision in which plant to open for operation. Here are the constraints. The excess capacity is equals to the capacity of the supply region times 1 if open, minus the sum of decision variable of the supply region. And next is the unmet demand, which is equals to the demand of the demand region minus the sum of the decision variables on demand region. And for the total cost of each line, it is computed by the sum of product of decision variables and the total cost per demand region plus the sum product of the fixed cost and the plant. The objective function is simply the total cost of wipes lane and the total cost of the ointment line. Here is the final table. And here are the inputs for solver. For the objective cell, it is the total cost of both lines. For the changing variable cells, it is simply the decision tables of both lines. There are a total of 5 constraints, which are the non-negativity constraint for the decision table, demand tables will be equal to 0, the non-negativity constraint of the excess capacity table, and the plant binary constraint to know which plant to be open. And lastly is the constraint that the Chicago plant must be open.
The solver will then display the following values.
The purpose of this report is to assess the production network options suggested by the Vice President of the Supply Chain at Coolwipes, Matt O'Grady. Since transportation costs had increased drastically by a factor of more than 4 at their production facility in Chicago, Coolwipes proposed that decentralizing the entire supply network may save the company significant amounts in transportation expense in the future. New network options were identified. Potential sites for the new plant suggested are Princeton, New Jersey, Atlanta, and Los Angeles. The 3 viable possibilities that Matt O'Grady considers are either building a new plant to produce only wipes line, only ointment line, or both. Although having more distribution channels minimizes transportation cost, decreases delivery times, and enables the supply chain to be more responsive, the operating cost of warehouse increases. The purpose of this study is to determine the optimal solution of the new network options, taking into account the transportation cost of having one Chicago production facility compared to one or more plants. The optimum configuration is calculated when the executive management considers all relevant variables to find the most appropriate solution for the network. Based on the analysis, the total annual cost of serving of the entire nation from Chicago is $87,961,400. To assess the production network options suggested by the supply chain vice president, if the Chicago plant is maintained, the total annual cost computed would be $86,421,400. According to the results, there would be no need for additional capacity in the ointment division. However, a new Atlanta plant and a new Los Angeles plant should be included for the wipes category. This offers an effective network together with a $1,540 reduction in overall cost of operation. For the wipes category, Chicago plant will supply Upper Midwest and Lower Midwest. Atlanta plant will supply Northeast and Southeast. Los Angeles plant will supply Northwest and Southwest. For the ointment category, only Chicago plant will supply for all the zones.